stainless steel bands and a brass corporation. This is a tapping machine. With the C900 pipe, we can do them manually, but if it's on the steel pipe, we have a tapping machine and use that with the generator to make the tap. But I would just screw this in, and it just goes in, and we keep pressure on it as we're going, and it would go on in the pipe. Hold that, please. After we're done, we'd take that out, turn the corporation off to stop any water flow, and then we'd get the plug out of the main, which would indicate that we had a successful tap on this. At that time, we'd hook the copper up. I get the operating or the compression nut there. The city's responsibility is from the water main to the meter pit generally, if the meter's outside. If not, we go to the curb stop, the shut off that's outside on the city easement generally. This is would all be buried, of course, but it just goes into the meter set. This is a 5/8 inch meter, and that would give adequate water for most households. For houses, we have 5/8, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch meters. And for businesses, a lot of them have a 2 inch meter. This is the new reading equipment that the city has. It's called a touchpad, and they just come with their equipment, touch it on that, and it gets the reading. What else? I could talk about flow checks.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
So just kind of walk us through the average process of doing that, or any other duty that you do on a daily basis.
Okay. The city of Salina has a minimum requirement of about 13 gallons a minute. If it's below that, if people call for low pressure, we'll go out and do what we call a flow check. We'll take the meter out, and we have a device, a different type of meter or an electronic meter that we can check that with and be sure that they have enough flow to do what's needed in the house. It depends on the size of house, how many fixtures and so forth they have, but generally what we've found is about 13 gallons a minute will be adequate water for a household. And if it's below that, then we can take different steps to check it, be sure there's no obstructions in the line itself, or that anything hasn't grown shut or the line's pinched in any way. What else we do? Sorry, hold on.
You might touch on our effort right now to get meters moved outside.
Okay. Right now, the city's in the process of trying to get as many meters outside as possible. Say, even 20, 30 years ago, there was always somebody in the house, so there was no problem for our staff to go and check a meter, see if it was being used or if it just quit working. But now, with everybody's busy lives, it's hard to get contact with people or to get somebody home where we can coordinate a time to get that. So if there's any reason that we need to check the meter at this time, we try to get it moved outside. That way, for liability reasons, we don't ever have to go in the home again. And that way, if we need to check the meter for any reason, it's accessible right out at the curb. We've moved about 700 meters outside since this program's been in effect the last 2 years. So we're moving forward with that. It'll take some time to get the whole town done, but we will succeed in that.
What's the process like doing that for those 700 homes and the rest of the slide? Walk us through that maybe.
Okay.
What that is to switch that over.
Some of the process involved in moving those meters outside. First, we have to do what's called a utility locate. Some of you may have seen the white flags or the white paint in your yard. And that's just, we call in Kansas One Call, and they have the other utilities come out and mark their services so nothing gets damaged in the process of that. And we come out, depending on the size of meter that's in the home or business, we have different size meter pits for those different size meters. We come out, dig it up. If we can dig it by hand, we do. If not, we just dig the smallest hole as possible. So we all live in town too, so we just try to inconvenience people as least as possible and go ahead. Then we have to have access to the home to get the meter out. And we put what's called a jumper, or just a piece of pipe the same size as the meter in place, and get that meter, update it with the new style readed meter, and put that in the meter pit. Okay. When we do this, there's no cost to the homeowner. We're just trying to do it for accurate billing, to update the system, to keep it updated with the latest technology. And again, there's no cost to the homeowner for any of this process.
And again, how long, on average, does it take to do something like that? And how many crews does it normally take to pull something like that off? Quick time period?
It usually takes approximately 2 hours to dig up the service, change all the meters out and everything like that. If things go well, sometimes, of course, the X factor is involved and it takes a little bit longer. Or in some of the older parts of town, we found that there's an old galvanized service line or a lead line. And when we do expose those, the city replaces those at that time with a new copper service. So that would take longer, and oftentimes we dig up the parking and we find this old service, so then we have to go back, re-white line the street and dig the street up, and just to update the whole service.
As long as people don't know that if we find galvanized, we're not going to like go into their house, you know, service.
Anything else?
Do you want to talk any about the new homes and that we charge $150 in the new residential area to set these, or is that?
Yeah, I can.
Could you make a short leap on it? You'll tie all this together when you're done.
All right.
You make a kind of a spiel on the new homes. It's
Can you trim a few pounds off of me?
It's either that or maybe look a couple years younger. We try.
Do you think it would be a value to mention that we don't do anything for sprinkler systems in case some of the plumbers are watching?
And this is all residential, then you might reference when it's commercial or industrial, that the commercial and industrial owners